Greetings. Welcome to Combe TV. I will put the banner back up again now. It's episode 71. It's Combe Countdown Race Day preview. That means we are 2 race days for our local championships away from the climax of the season. Thrown in the middle, we got the fantastic Autumn Classic, don't forget, but we're getting close. We're at the fighty end of the championships now, and it's so good to see you all again. Let's catch up with everybody. Good to see you all diving in. Caroline Sutton, hi Caroline. Chris Rea, one of our mighty Orange Army. Evening, Chris. Evening, Chris. Jed Doyle says that's some dodgy playlist Doors he has. Hey, it's nothing to do with me, mate. You know, I'm limited. You know me. I'd be full on acid jazz. You know, I can't even tell you what that is, to be honest with you. I'm getting old, mate, but it sounded good. Tim Perry, another one of our Orange Army. So that's 3 Orange Army in a row there. Dilly, evening all. Been a while. It has, I suppose, hasn't it? It would have been previewing the last race meeting, and it shouldn't be more than a month, but obviously I tie it in with just before. I know this is a different day, Tuesday, but I couldn't do it on Thursday, so I had to move it to Tuesday. It's good to see the regulars are here. Duffers, Darren Duffield, evening, Chris, and everybody. Oh, that's nice. Too long, Tim Perry. Too long. I'm glad to hear it, mate. You getting ready to get back on the circuit side, aren't you, mate? Hopefully, I'll get a chance to catch up with you again. Andy Lawrence from Bristol Motor Club. Evening. Looking forward to seeing the Mini I bought when I was 17 competing on Monday. Really? How is it competing on Monday? I only saw it for sale the other day, and that was all road spec at that point. It's been a long time since I saw it, but I'm looking forward to it. Emma Brown, our Formula Ford coordinator. Dilly, evening all. Looking forward to being back on Monday after missing the last round. Yes, Emma. Good to see that you'll be back, though. Mike Cotton, evening all. Evening, Mike. Good to see you, mate. Hope you'll be there on Monday, buddy. Mr. Ford himself, the General, evening all. George Gillespie, hello, mate. He's excited for the GT Championship. Glad to hear it. I think you've become as hooked. I told you you'd get hooked like the rest of us. Emma Brown's also said she's been spending her time working out drop scores ready. Your head hurts. Imagine having to do that whilst we're in the middle of commentary as well. Doesn't happen. I'm pleased this round, at least, we've got Ian Salmon in the second box. And, of course, he's an accountant by trade. So we'll be all right there. We've got him working all of this out, which is a relief. The bad news is I don't think he's there for the last race meet. So that'll get tricky and I'll make lots of mistakes. Hayden Parry says, hey, can't wait to see what post I'm on Monday. Another Orange Army. Thank you in advance, my friend. And I hope you're happy with the post you get put on. Lewis Bird Motorsport, evening all. You're a bit early this week, Dorsey. I know, mate. I know. I couldn't do it. And I'm delighted to see that you all checked in as well. Normally, I try to make it as close to the race day as possible. And I can't normally do Friday, but Thursday night works well. But this week, it had to be tonight. So thank you very much. Kat says, hello all. And you typed it instead of putting the emoji there. I like that. Our very own Kat Dalocco doing working wonders, and thank you very much for getting the entry list through to me today. Well, the provisional entry list, I suppose, although it should be closed, but I know you get a few entries, don't you? Carl Olden, Papa Olden, evening all. Evening, mate. Welcome. David Campion. Hey, Chris. Hope everyone is okay. Looking forward to this episode. David Campion, Wiltshire College, they got on the podium in the student motorsport event on the weekend. Congratulations, Brands Hatch, Amelia Vincent, fabulous job. Well done to you and the whole team, David. That was fantastic. Oh, Joe Simmons is watching. Anyone would think her husband would rock up, and I could see Kieran's in the background covering his eyes. Kieran, she don't watch when you're not on, though, mate, does she? Joe. We will be bringing Kieran on in a minute for some very obvious reasons that will become clear very shortly. Mike Cotton says he sure will be on there on Monday. Good man, glad to hear it. Andy says it's a different Mini. This one was my first car, just sold the daily. Got you, mate. You can see why I got confused. You know, there's a bit of an obsession with Minis there for you, isn't there, mate? Tina Weston, the Hot Hatch coordinator. Evening all. Hi, Tina. Look forward to seeing you on Monday. Jed already knows that he's on post 6. So there you go. You guys always tell me the post numbers. I can never remember which post is where. And I sort of make it up until someone mentions what corner they're on. But thanks in advance, Jed. Eileen Rutter. Hi, Chris. Can't get over from France, but hopefully we'll tune in. Glad to hear it. TSL, you'll be able to hear all the commentary, and that'll be good to catch up that way at least. Ashley Hazel, evening on post 4 on Monday. Another mighty Orange Army. Thank you for that, Ashley. Emma Brown backs up my comment. Massive congratulations to Amelia at Brands last weekend. Absolutely a fabulous podium. The first podium for the team. So well done, Amelia, and the rest of the students. Tim Perry says it's on Rev Up if you're registered, where you can also sign on, Hayden Parry. So there you go, Hayden. You can find out where you are right now. Well, do it after the show, please. Cube Jam, James W says, will be my 6th visit to Castle Combe on Monday. Never been before this year. Love it now. I knew you would, mate. Everybody gets hooked. As soon as you're there, it is a great place. You get hooked. David Campion from Wiltshire College. Thank you, Chris. Brilliant result for Amelia Vincent and the team. It was a hard-fought race. Brilliant first woman on the podium. And how cool was that, David, that this was the weekend that my company, Visual PR, that creates all of these shows. I've got one coming up next Tuesday for Swindon Wildcats as well, for example, and for commercial organisations. And it was sponsored. The whole of the Student Motorsport weekend was sponsored by Visual PR, or powered by Visual PR, as they said. We'll be doing a show with Student Motorsport a little bit later in the year, and may well be doing a number of these kind of shows for them next year. But what a great timing for me to be supporting them there, and that you guys go and get that podium. Absolutely brilliant. Tim Perry, you're all comparing where you're going. Tim Perry, 8-9, hammer down for me. Jed Doyle, 6 is the S's. Thank you, mate. Badger, Bill Brockbank, he says, evening all, looking forward to racing Monday in the Badger Wagon. 5 years. Is it really that long? 5 years? Goodness me. 5 years since he last raced it. Hoping for a dry one for everyone. Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. I've stopped looking this early because it changes too much, doesn't it? But great to see that Bill Badger Brockbank is going to be back. That would be great. Andy Lawrence says, I've only had 2 minis, just a coincidence. Yeah, we know. Joe Shingler, good evening, everyone. I'm on post 5, quarry out on Monday. No rest for you then, Joe, I suspect. And I love it, the fact that Brian Preble, that's Preble Senior, best of luck to Bill, the Badger. So keep it all together. Nathan Sutton, hello, mate. Evening, busy at work. I hope you're enjoying yourself, mate. Working hard or hardly working. That's the joke, isn't it? I wouldn't say that to you, mate. I know you work too hard. Right. I'm going to pause for a second on that. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for those comments. And I'm going to get serious for a second before I bring Kieran in to talk about this. Last week, I've lost track of time. It was last week, wasn't it, Kieran? That we lost the week before. I've lost track of time. That sadly we lost Tony Allen. Many of you will know Tony Allen because whether he was wandering around the paddock, whether he was in the commentary boxes, whether he was there helping primarily David George, he'd be sat at the old paddock commentary box, lap charting and shouting at David George in the background. And when I was over there, I was lucky enough to work with David. Otherwise, I was equally as lucky working with Jill Allen. The two of them would be one in each commentary box and doing all the paperwork, doing the lap charting, an extra pair of eyes, all those kind of things. And sadly, we've lost another one of our friends. Please, as this show goes on, can you, any of you that have got any memories, anything like that, throw them into the comments because we will put them on. And if she's not watching it now, she probably will watch it back, Jill Allen. And Jill, my heart goes out to you. You know that this will have affected so many of us to have lost Tony Allen. And I'm just going to try at the moment to read this out and try to hold it together. So the official press release is that we were sad to record the passing of long-term circuit commentator and motorsport enthusiast and great support to so many people in so many ways at the age of 87. He first became interested in motorsport during the late 1940s after cycling with friends to Great Auckland, I hope I've pronounced that right, and even Goodwood, all the way from his home in Woking. Tony's competition career started on grass with an Austin A7, followed by stock car racing at Spedworth, where he finished second in his first race. A production car trial came next with Farnborough and District Motor Club, which Tony beat Paddy Hopkirk to win outright and receive his trophy from F1 world champion Graham Hill. Tony was then asked by Wilmot Racing to drive their modified Ford Anglia 100E in an autocross, winning his class. Grass track racing came next with an Anglia 105E, not only winning the class, but this time the championship. Hot rod racing and drag racing followed, and it was there that Tony met his future wife Jill, and I didn't know this, who was a class winner in drag racing herself. I had no idea of that, bizarrely. In the late 1970s, Tony moved to Pembrokeshire and became involved in local autograss racing, meeting popular local commentator Richard Dicky Davies and working with him at classic and vintage shows. When Richard left Pembrokeshire, Tony took over as local event commentator, but his work also included national events including Brands Hatch, Thruxton, Cadwell Park and Pembrey. Ever versatile, Tony found himself commentating at tractor pools, vintage fairs, truck shows, and even a 24-hour charity go-kart race. Memorably, he commentated at Rockingham Circuit's inaugural race meeting alongside Ben Edwards and successfully interrogated Nigel Mansell, Tiff Needell, and Frank Sittner. In the 1980s, Richard Davies invited Tony to Castle Combe, and it wasn't long before he was trawling the paddock seeking personalities to interview. He then joined David George in the old paddock commentary box before taking over Radio Castle Combe for a while. Do you remember that? Before it closed down. He continued as David George's number 2, and during his time at Castle Combe, Tony somehow managed to borrow Darrell Waltrip's NASCAR race car for a few laps of the circuit. What? How did I miss this stuff? For its first 10 years, Tony and Jill worked at Goodwood alongside Neville Hay, Marcus Pye, Murray Walker, and Raymond Baxter. He always regarded himself privileged to have attended so many varied events and met so many fantastic people. From drag racing, Santa Pod to Bordeaux, F1 at Zandvoort, Spa, Zolder, 24-hour racing at Le Mans, plus the daunting Isle of Man TT. On the water, powerboat racing at Bristol, I remember that, and Cardiff Docks, and the televised rally sprint with Pembrokeshire Motor Club. For almost 20 years, Tony was the principal commentator at the spectacular hill climb at Llysiffran Country Park. That's in Wales, don't you know? Tony Allen recently said, "We have worked at Castle Combe for the last 40 years or so, and over that time, we have only missed 2 meetings, one each due to being in hospital at different times. We have loved all we have done to help the club. Castle Combe Racing Club extends its condolences to Tony's wife Jill and his family and many friends." And I did mean to put this up whilst we were doing it, but I'm sure you can appreciate that it was quite a lot to think about at that point. But let me bring up the wonderful, wonderful photos of a very, very dear friend of ours, Tony Allen, as we remember him. I'm going to flick to the next one. I was delighted to be able to call them both up to get recognised for their incredible work at Castle Combe Circuit. But he wasn't all work, work, work. He was play, play, play as well. Tony Allen, an absolute character. Now, I've said already that I'm bringing him on, and I'm going to bring on Kieran Simmons now, because he and Kieran have spent the last 14 years or so doing a lot together. Kieran, I hope I did him a little bit of justice there reading that. Did you manage to keep that together then?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's been a tough thing to swallow, such a character. But
he is, isn't he?
Yeah, you did very well with that. Well done. You'll be very proud of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can get on with it. You know what it's like.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, we were chatting off camera beforehand, Kieran, and saying that, you know, I'm still going to have a giggle on air, and you'd go, that's what he would insist on. He would want that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Just to explain for those of you that don't necessarily know, I mean, obviously I've been, what did we work out, 13 years at Castle Combe, joined as a commentator, and Tony and Jill immediately took me under their wing and were so supportive, so encouraging, as was David George himself and Richard Davies as well. Very, very lucky at the time that I joined, I feel. And Kieran, I first came across you from Tony talking about you prior to you getting racing and saying, you got to keep an eye out for this young man. He's really, really good. And with his encouragement and the garage that you'll have to remind me the name of the garage.
Yeah.
That say it again.
Ian Studley's my boss.
That's it. Ian Studley, yeah. Got you racing in that wonderful black Fiesta.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a lot to answer for, hasn't he?
Yeah. So Tony, how we got about, basically there was this guy that kept coming into Joe's panel shop in Whirl and Western, buying orange paint and bits for a race car. And you can see where this is going, can't you? Yeah. And Joe's like, all right, gets chatting. Obviously, Tony loves to chat to a load of people, and he's interested in everything you've got to say. So he then spoke to Joe a few times. They come in, this and the other. Just happened to mention Castle Combe and how I enjoyed Castle Combe. Not doing anything at that point. Next thing you know, he came in with 2 tickets next time we're going to buy it, not knowing that it was Tony Dolly's tickets that he had spare to buy the bits for Tony Dolly's car, who I'd done a race school, a couple of race schools with him, who he was my instructor. Comments at the bottom where you need to get your race license and come out and play with us. And it's very weird how it all sort of just came together. I mean, to start with, this Joe kept saying, this guy's come in and he's talking about Castle Combe and stuff. I was like, oh wow, that's good. And then we literally used to call him Father Christmas because he would come in with tickets. But Joe was like, I'm too scared to ask his name. I don't know him. I don't know who he is. He's this really nice guy. And anyway, cut a long story short, I mean, you know, we ended up coming up one time, just have to bump into him in the paddock, not realizing who he really was or what was going on. Introduced us to Tony Dolly. Then next thing you know, we're spannering for Tony, was spannering for helping Tony Dolly. We're dragged up at the comms box to have a little look, see what's going on. He introduced to everyone. That obviously Tony walked around the paddock knowing everyone, smiling at everyone. You know, he knows everything about everyone, and he would introduce me to all these people that it was just right, okay, you know, and yeah, it's good. And that was just his character. You know, he used to just get on and make everyone happy and such like. And then obviously after a few years of trying to help Tony as best I could with my little bit of knowledge, not as much as I know about now about cars, but back then I was sort of a bit scared to almost touch some bits and pieces. They were pushing me to get my odds out. I did a rally sprint with my in an Escort, which was borrowed by Ian, and Tony came down to that and watched that and was, you really need to come out racing. And then it was at the opportunity that Ian said that we could go and get a race car basically, and go out. And next thing I know, my 30th, and presented to me from Tony, Jill and Tony Dolly was my art pass basically. To my that they paid for Combe for me to go and do my license. It was like, come on, hurry up, let's go. So that's how it all came about. And then it's been an amazing 10 years with them all the way through, pushing me hard, helping me where they could, sorting me out with tires from Yocon, from George Polly, which is lovely, and obviously all the cracking memories behind the scenes as well.
He saw something special, didn't he? He knew there was something. And I've got to say, by the way, Jamie, hi Jamie. He says Kieran's a legend, one of the nicest blokes in the paddock, and can pedal a car very quickly. And that has to be said. I mean, I keep nagging at you to come back, and you're planning to come back and race.
I am. I've had some hold-ups this year. I was really trying to get out this year, especially for Tony as well, because he kept nagging me. And a few bits haven't turned up that I was hoping for, which put me back on the start of the year. And then I sort of a bit deflated by it all. But we're definitely coming back. You know, Tony's nagging me even last time I seen him a few weeks ago. Right, how's your car? Where are we going? Are we going out racing? I did actually try and get him up for the last meeting, but he was just a bit too poorly, even for a few hours. The weather wasn't great. It would have been a bit of a challenge for him, bless him. So even though I did try and get him up there, it just would have not worked, which is a shame. But
and I know that you and I were chatting, I think it was one of the action days, is that he clearly was very poorly and very thin compared to how we knew him, so you could tell that he was there. But he's such a stubborn man, is that he just won't sit back if he can help it, will he? He just loves it. Yeah.
It was just, I think all of the rest around it is just got a bit tired, I think, you know. And it's a shame, because if I've always said, if you could put money on someone living forever, it would be him. Honestly, I would put a good amount of money on that. You know, if you could, he would, because he's so, even, you know, the stories he's telling is to great detail, even up to a few months ago, you know, weeks ago. His brain didn't switch off. It was just, he would tell us about all this stuff that happened many years ago, and I can't remember what I did last week sometimes, you know. And he can tell me the people's names, exactly the time, and he's just so bright, so on point, so flat out, basically.
Well, even when he stepped away from the mic, which was before my time, he by the time I came across him, I'm pretty sure he'd stopped all of that by that point. But he was still just not only did he have loads of knowledge, but he was hungry for more. And that was why it was, yes, he loved speaking to people and he loved being friendly, and that was wicked about him. But he wanted to know more, and he was just soaking it up like a sponge, wasn't he? Finding out more. What's going on? I want to understand it. I want to know what's happening. I want to have an angle on everything. And it was just wonderful to watch. And people compliment me on the fact that wherever I'm able to, I'll go wandering around the paddock and catch up with people, see them and get the stories, find out more. And it's like, I have to say, it's from Tony and David George that I don't think I deliberately set out to do it, but I saw them do it and I thought that was the norm.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, because it's such a privilege to be in the paddock catching up with all the racing drivers.
It's surprising how many people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't feel confident speaking to people. They can see race cars and they can see numbers and they can correspond with people, but it's until you get down like you do, and like Tony did, and David George, you know, they would always come around and can make sure that we're all right before we'd start, and anything to report or anything you want to say or anything, you know, that we would, and he loved that. And that was the difference, because when he was commentating or giving information, which you'd always hear in the background at Tower when he shouted at David George, tell him this, tell him that, you know, you could always hear his voice somewhere, that, you know, and that's because he's been around there and he's talking about effectively one of his friends, someone he knows. It's not just a number or a name, you know, it's someone that he can say, well, no, that's not like him, well, that's it. And you could tell it was true, you know, and yeah, he was a special one. He definitely was a special one.
But one thing I'll always say, and both Tony and Jill are very much like this, because I would say it's one of the early pieces of advices that I got from them is despite the fact that you just made the comment there, it's about his friends, and so he was able to bring a more intimate knowledge about the person, and yet he would never be cliquey and over familiar in his commentary, because I remembered them both telling me, you know, don't just suddenly turn around and go, oh, Kieran's gone and done this. When in the middle of a commentary, oh, Kieran's gone up the inside, because the spectators are like, sorry, who, what, eh? And so he managed to get that balance just right of still expand on that intimate knowledge and bring it to life for people, including when he was then sat alongside the commentator, which he was just as beneficial. People might not realize, well, probably don't, because they weren't in the box, like myself and David George, you know, have been over the years. Tony and Jill are just priceless help to have alongside you.
Yeah, they're honestly, both of them, they're exceptional with what they do, and it really makes everything else run a bit smoother. You know, when you've got good people around you like that, it means, for instance, you'll know I'm not a commentator, but when you've got people around like that, you'll find that you'll have people, you won't have to work on the little bits. They're doing those little bits. You can concentrate on the good bits, and they'll feed you the information, and you can relate to them and ask them, and they'll fill you wherever they can.
Well, it was like in those two being there was for me what became the norm, especially as obviously I started at Castle Combe on the commentary side of things, as we know. And so when I went further afield, I used to take my cousins with me, and they would kind of do the Tony and Alan, sorry, Tony and Jill, Tony and Alan, Tony and Jill role alongside me, because it was that. And it was only, you know, in latter years that suddenly you kind of realize, no, that's quite a luxury to have anyone there. I've had to learn how to do all of those at the same time. And looking back is that absolutely, if someone was there to be able to take care of all of those things, you're freed up to be able to recall, to entertain, to get excited at the right points, to get, you know, whatever emotions necessary to see more. But also to have that extra pair of eyes in there would help. It was just, you know, a real benefit. And yet he did it because he loved being there.
Yeah.
Because I know we've had conversations with him, haven't we, since that it was breaking his heart that he couldn't be up there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It just didn't work, you know. It was hard. I mean, even David George's funeral, you know, when we got him up there, it was just he did it, and he didn't moan, he didn't cause a problem, but you could just tell he was tired after that, you know, and that did really take it out of him. Obviously, that was a little while ago now, and at one point he when I went to see him, he was in his bed, and he was, you know, you think, oh, you know, this is not looking great, and then he turned it around, and next thing you know, he's got his physio out, He started to walk. He's in a he's in an electric wheelchair, whizzing around the house. I mean, their house is a lovely bungalow, and he's whizzing around at 100 mph. You know what Tony's like, and you just think, God, nothing's changed. You know, shut that door as he'd be down the road.
Yeah.
You know? And that's just him. I mean, I never forget the time when he wanted us to come out with Tony and Jill. They picked us up one night and said, we're going to go and see Tony Dolly down in Bridgewater for a meal. It's like, okay, so we got in from work, got changed, got dressed, and whatever, sorted the dog out. Next thing you know is Tony turns up in his black Leon, his 150 brake FR that pulls up outside, and then and Tony's driving, so we're off down. And I remember looking at Joe as we were just sort of exiting the Western Roundabout, going down there. By the time we got down onto the motorway, I mean, I would like not like to think of the speed we were doing, but Joe was holding my hand pretty hard. And that's just Tony. He's DSG flat out, gone, lane free, and we're down to Tony Dolly's house in like a matter of minutes, you know. And I'll never forget these little bits, you know. And you know, it's a shame. It's a shame. Time moves on as such, but no.
And 87, you know, he did do well. He tried his best to sort of win you your money on the bet that he'd live forever, didn't he? I mean, we've got to remember that one. It's just that when a big personality like that goes, it's a big gap, isn't it? And as I say, so many of us will sit there and go, yeah, you know what? We've had warmth, we've had support, we've had words of advice, we've had all sorts from this man. From the pair of them, Tony and Jill, both of them, absolutely wonderful characters. But like the photo we had of them winning the award, which for me was just lovely. I feel very privileged that both David George and Tony and Jill Allen, I was on the mic hosting the awards when they were given the achievements, and it's special, you know. It's really cool. I mean, again, we're still getting more comments coming in. A personable commentator, giving the drivers and teams a face in words, and also let the public know behind the scenes of drivers and teams. Absolutely. And I think I probably learned a lot more from him than I realised.
Yeah. I mean, they spoke very well. Jill still does, but Tony spoke very highly of you all the way through. I mean, when we first met, I can remember meeting you at the NEC, and you was excited to say that you're going to start at Combe this year. And it was me, you, Tony, Anthony, Dolly, and I still remember to this day. I'll always remember it. And you could tell he was really happy for you, like really happy. And I know obviously that was your nervous time at then, but then they could see that, and that's why he said that, you know, he'll help you, and look at you now.
I know, and they did. They kept encouraging me all the way through, year on year, and all of that, and would also, you know, that I've got an emotional challenge at the moment, is the fact that he phoned me after I had my heart scare. What's that now? A couple of months ago, and I didn't get back to him through no reason. I just forgot. The health, and then life got in the way, and it's made me realise, don't put off making those callbacks, because you never know. And it's just a little grate in there that but he would always phone. So he'd heard probably from you, I would imagine, I don't know, that I'd had the heart scare, and so he was checking how I was. He was phoning me before that, and suddenly about how's the commentary going, how I'm gutted we can't get down there. We're still hoping that after this pandemic goes, we'll be able to get back down there again. But he always checked in. He was just
but that's him. That's lovely. His brain is like that. It would he didn't think he was poorly as such, you know. That's not how he thinks. He just thinks, you know, all the time. It's so busy. But I mean, I wouldn't be too hung up about that, mate, really. I mean, he knows, he knows you, and obviously, you know, busy times, life both gets in the way. I did see Jill on Sunday, and just to check in and make sure everything's okay, and she said not to worry, so don't worry, mate.
That's good. Unfortunately, is that I don't think you were fully surprised, were you? Because he did start at the end, did lose the energy that we know of Tony. So that says a lot about a man, that you suddenly could see the difference in him as well towards the end there.
Yeah. It's funny enough, I had a sixth sense that something wasn't quite right. and I did try and get over to see him that weekend, but he was just a bit too poorly, and Jill says he's not at visitors at the minute, so it's a bit of a shame. But you just get that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a big deal. That says an awful lot. Listen, we could tell story after story after story, and please, everybody, make sure you remember all those little things that you had with Tony. An absolute gentleman, someone who I feel very honoured to think I can call him a friend as well. Kieran, you definitely can. Both of us have got things that we're very grateful to him and them for, and they'll be remembered with a full heart as well as a heavy one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day in the the 12th, 11th? Where's that 11th? It's going to be one of them challenging days, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Well, Tony Allen, rest in peace, my friend, and thank you for everything that you've done for him. It's been a pleasure to have known you, my friend. Tracy Pullinger says, lovely tribute to Tony. Well done, Kieran. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me on that one, Kieran. It's hugely appreciated. I reached out to you, and I know that you were nervous as hell about coming on here. Hopefully you've seen that it's not that bad. But do you want to call it a day there, or are you going to hang around for the preview?
Don't mind, whatever, mate.
I'm going to keep you on for a little bit then, mate. We're gonna talk, but you know that I do most of the talking now, so it's a little bit easier. But thank you all for the comments that have been coming in. It's great. It's always great as well to see that you are catching up with each other. Chris Ignore, even everyone hoping to catch you all at Combe on Monday. David Campion says the visual PR sponsorship of Student Motorsports event was a good luck charm. I hope so, mate. And John McMillan says he'll be racing, in the white Megane because the Fiesta's down. No way, John. You were incredible in that Fiesta. I got to tell you, you were like that close to being driver of the day. It was such an incredible performance. Really, really impressive. I'm doing that from memory, but I'm pretty sure that is how I remember it. Dave Baggy Malpass, evening, mate. Evening, all. Looking forward to Monday. First in a while. Missed a few due to other commitments, but feel free to come and see me in the assembly area and say hello. You know I will, mate. We're a welcoming bunch. Well, you say that, mate. Dilly, Mr. Dawes, and I hope you have had a chance to sample my present. Do you know what? I did only the other day. On an evening, I just needed a little sneaky snifter, a lovely pink gin miniature that he got me. Thank you. I did tell the wife off for dishing me up that one, though, because I said I was supposed to drink it on the show with you watching, but I enjoyed it, so thank you for that one. Hey, Stuart Tinker Taylor. Hello, Chris and co. Looking forward to seeing you at the weekend from a fuffer-loving camp softcore fan. You're actually here this time, are you, Stuart? I look forward to it, mate. And thank you to Tim. He says, well done, Kieran and Chris. Well done on that. No, thank you. We were always going to try to do him justice. So, Kieran, you might not be racing at the moment, but I've lost track. You haven't managed to make it down to watch for a little while either, have you?
Yeah, I've been down. Yeah, I've been down a couple of times this year.
Have you? That's all right then.
Yeah.
I won't talk about the fact that you never came and said hello then.
I did wave at you, actually. I did see you because we were down supporting Darcy Smith, who was obviously driving that amazing car.
Yes, I do remember that now. That was incredible, that piece of kit, isn't it?
I was looking after Helen, bless her. She was a bit panicking about him.
Was she really?
Precious Darcy, yeah.
But why was she nervous? Because he's just raced loads for years, hasn't he?
Yeah, but you know what Darcy's like.
Yeah, well, no comment. He's a legend, is what he is. It was great to see him as well as that car back out. And I thought we were going to get his son Josh out racing, but he pulled out. But I think that's because he was running about 100 cars of his own.
Yeah, he was down. He looked very busy.
The amount of circuits I catch up with him is amazing. Dave Weston, one of our officials, currently writing the driver's briefing for the Classic Sports Car Club Swinging 60s. I hope the Orange Army have got their blue flags ready, as there will be nearly 50 cars out for qualifying.
Wow.
Absolutely fantastic, and they're always good. And Emma Brown with the Formula Ford says, hopefully we'll put on a good show for you. without question, they always do the Formula Fords. Let me start with that since Emma's put that one. Let me just quickly go to the Formula Fords. So remember, we've got all 4 of our local championships and the Hot Hat Series, plus we've got the Midgets and Sprites, and as you heard there, the Swinging 60s from Classic Sports Car Club. Now, in terms of the entry list for the Formula Fords, I'll just quickly whip down it. Felix Fischer, Luke Cooper, of course, duking it out at the front. Charlie Mann, good to see Charlie back again. Vincent J, Tom Hawkins, Kieran Atwood, Stephen Billett, Barnaby Simmons, and Tom. Oh, look at the amount of Class A's. Tom Radburn, Lucas Romanek, Ben Mitchell, Bob Hawkins, Alex Kite.
What's he driving?
In a Formula Ford, a Spectrum.
Oh.
Kevin Mills racing. Surely that's not the Alex Kite.
Maybe he's not racing the Hondas the weekend.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen him in a single-seater. That would be cool if he's in that.
He's a bit tall for that, isn't he?
No one's tall to me, mate, so no. But that would be pretty cool. But, of course, it may well be a different Alex Kite. I should have checked. I should have looked at this and checked with Kevin Mills to find out, because he's out. But I'm assuming it is KMS Sport. I think that's their car, Spectrum 013. And it is Dursley, so it is Alex Kite.
Wow.
Thomas MacArthur and Tom Nippers. Good to see Tom Nippers back again as well. So that is a whole load of Class A cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 just in Class A. Wow. And Tim's just confirmed no Hondas are not out until Silverstone, so could well be him. So could well be.
Interesting to watch.
Indeed. Class B, Nathan Ward, Sam Street, and James Tucker. Good to see James Tucker back out as well. Class C, Michael Phillips, Kane Tilley, James Hadfield, Richard Earl, David Cobbold, and Class D, Alicia Hamlin. And in terms of the championship standings for the Formula Fords, currently it is Felix Fischer leading the way 176 points, Luke Cooper second on 168. Ben Mitchell's in third, but on 136, so a bit to make up there. But 176 to 168, bearing in mind it's 23 points for a win. That's pretty darn close. And we've still got 4 rounds to go. And Emma, you'll have to remind me on this. I think they drop 2. Emma Brown, you'll have to remind me. I think it's 2 rounds that are dropped. And Emma certainly confirmed we have a good grid. You absolutely do, Emma. It looks absolutely wicked. And I can't wait for that. Have you ever fancied jumping in a single-seater, Kieran?
I get asked that a little bit, actually. In a word, no. Only because I don't know. I just like a little bit of a roof, I think. I don't know why. I've done some stuff without windscreens, and so you get a bit windy and stuff. But no, not really. Not stuff.
It seems another level to me. I mean, Emma's just confirmed 2 drop scores, so it can include a weekend that they don't enter. That makes that makes sense. Emma Brand says, "What's wrong with Formula Fords?" Emma, it's not about what's wrong with them. It's about a driver feeling confident in one. I mean, for me, I always make the comment when I'm hosting the racing school, and obviously they get to go out and experience the Formula Fords, and they're just tiny little things, fully exposed with the head. And I get that's a different level. Wing mirrors that do nothing, they're just useless because they're small and they're just vibrating. And you think, and yet they're now going up Avon Rise into Quarry, 3 abreast at least, almost tangling their wheels, and you think that's...
I don't think I'd have any wheels left coming into Quarry on the first lap. I don't know how they all keep them on. They just stick out like big things, and you think, well, how do they stay there? I mean,
exactly. I always say is that they are, for me, a whole other level, definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong, mate. You boys in the saloons are just nut jobs anyway. But, in the single-seaters, you think, wow, you've just got to... But it's all about a mentality, isn't it? Because I remember speaking to motorbike racers as well, and they think the car racers are nuts because when they go into a corner, the car leans away from the corner, and of course they're used to leaning into the corner. So it's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, funny enough, I've done some track days recently. One we about last year on my. I only got a little 600 CBR, little RR thing, and I did some track days in Pembury. And I tell you what, it's made car stuff feel very slow.
Really?
Yeah. Those boys on bikes are not wired up right, I tell you.
Agreed. It is a different gravy, definitely,
It is
without
definitely,
question.
yeah.
Good to see Bob Honeyset. Evening, Bob. See you on Monday. I see you there, mate. He'll be up in the officialdom up there on the weekend. And Matt Coyle says the saloon car coordinator says currently working out what chocolate for the saloons. Freddo's, maybe.
I bet they're not 10p anymore.
No. What do you reckon? I reckon they're £1 by now. I haven't seen,
Yeah,
but I bet they're just ridiculous, isn't it? James Keeping says, evening all, watching while watering the garden. You've changed.
Nature wheel.
Well, see, trust you to go there, Kieran. That didn't even cross my mind.
I know James.
That's true. Yeah. Jeff Cusworth says, evening all, see you on Monday. We'll be on post 11. Yeah, Emma Brown confirms Freddo's are very expensive these days. And smaller probably as well.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes, isn't it? it goes smaller. So that's the Formula Fords. I'm really excited to see that massive grid. I'm intrigued by Alex Kite out there. That's going to be really cool. I bet we're going to find out he's done loads of them, really. But last time round is that we had race 2 was won by Felix Fischer. Race 1 was Lucas Romanek. That was a good performance in the wet from memory. Lucas Romanek, he did really well. And in fact, he got fastest lap as well. Luke Cooper got a pair of seconds, though. So it's that consistency as well that can really make the difference. Class B is being led by Nathan Ward, 87 to Sam Street's 80. So it's only 7 points between those two in Class B. So keep an eye on that fight. Whereas David Cobbold in Class C, he's on 91 compared to Kane Tilley on 56. So at the moment, he's looking good for that. And I dare say that we'll see if that can be wrapped up on Monday when Ian Salmon does his maths for me. Alicia Hamlin comfortably in control of Class D. So that is the Formula Fords. Remember, it's another double header for them. They're the second race after lunch. So that's race 3 of the day, because just before lunch break at 11:45, we've got the Midgets and Sprites. The grid walk this time is the Hot Hatch Series. So that'll be a very busy grid with cars there. And then the Formula Fords, then the swinging 60s. Theirs is the single 40-minute race for those. Saloons, GTs, Midgets and Sprites race 2, Hot Hatch race 2, Formula Fords race 2, Saloon Cars race 2, and GTs race 2 as well. So that is how the timetable is looking. Obviously, qualifying gets underway at 8:30 as usual. When we get to these times, though, Kieran, do you start itching and missing and want to be getting ready and looking forward to that weekend?
Yeah, definitely. And especially if you've been up there, you come back and think, right, let's go. I really need to get out here now. It's only going to take a couple of evenings and we'll get that done. And then when you start having a go at it, you think, actually, it's all like the little bits. I've done quite a lot on the car since I've got the engine back, in a way of the little finicky bits. Yeah. All the fueling's been done. And I've sort of gone to town a little bit on it. And honestly, if I knew what kind of work it was, I definitely would have done it. Honestly, and the money's gone into it as well. It's just a bit like, oh God, far too deep now to bail out. But I'm just hoping. I just need to get a little bit of mojo back, which I have lately. We've ordered some more bits up this week. Still ordering. I think I've got shares in Samco and talks of bits. Honestly, but yeah, hopefully when I get it back out, I just need to get it mapped. But hopefully people will appreciate the effort that's gone into it. When I opened the bonnet, which was always the bit that I didn't like on my car, I never liked to open the bonnet because it just looked a little bit put together, not built, And then when Anderson's obviously Frank did a lovely engine and it all looks lovely. And then we had to get all the bolts zinc plated the same as the rest they've done their engines. So all the gearbox was all the same and it all looked fitting. And then you go to the next bit and go, well, that's not very good. You need to replace that. And now that needs doing. And then literally you just start chasing yourself around to the point where you should have just nut and bolted it from day one, really. But no, I do start. I get a bit like, oh, come on, you can get out. I don't really want to say it, but there is a little bit of me that really wants to get out for the last round, but I'm leaving it a bit late. So when I thought about this about 3-4 weeks ago, I was like, come on, but not a lot's happened since then.
Listen, mate,
Well,
the fact that you're going to be out there is enough for me, mate. I just want to know that you're back out there, and I want to see you and Joe
honestly,
back at the circuit again. It'll be lovely.
yeah, it's going to be different. It's going to be different because obviously Joe's dad passed, and he was my great supporter. So that's a bit of a challenging, tricky time for us both because he was definitely one of my number one fans, and obviously missing Tony as well. It's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be different, but at the same time, it's going to be good, and that's half the drive to get it all back as it was, you know.
Well, especially as everybody in the paddock says so regularly that the family spirit in that race paddock is such that it's very cathartic, very therapeutic, and it's actually really helpful. Is that fine? It'll be that down initially, that kind of suddenly seeing the things that are missing, but everybody's there and picks you back up again. We've had so many examples there, and it'll be great to have you back as part of that again, mate. Definitely. Sav, hello, mate. It's good to have a coffee with Chris Savage last week. Good to catch up, mate. Hope you're well. Julie Atwood, Kieran Atwood's mum. We've just done the Formula Fords. Kieran Atwood, when he's gone well, he's gone really well, but he's had bad luck this year. That's not been his fault, and hopefully that'll all get sorted out. But I call that character building, Julie, that he needs that to see that side as well, and he'll come back even stronger. The Herminator, evening all, a little bit late to the party. See you all on Monday. Glad to hear it, mate. John Ford reckons he's looking for a quiet Monday. Fordy, it's not going to happen, mate, is it? You know it. I've just told you the size of the grids. Adam Clark says, evening all, is it Monday morning yet? Not yet, mate. You got a little while longer. And Julie's just gone, yep, she knows it. It's true, isn't it, Julie? We know it. Tony Cooper, evening all, driving back from having my shiny new engine mapped. Don't tell the wife. Secret safe with us, mate. Shh.
You should have a code word for that.
Yeah. A quiet day for us is a good day for the team, says Fordy. I know, mate. That's why it's not going to be a quiet day, sadly. You know it. Tim Perry says, be good to see you back, Kieran. Really would. See you in the paddock soon. Pressure's on now, mate. See? It's almost as if I've done this on purpose to drag you on, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's Tony told you, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get him on. Come on, let's stitch him up. And on that front, let's have a look at the saloons. And again, it's a double header for our Saloon Car Championship. And in terms of the entry list, Class A, so we've got Daniel Williams in the Bora, Harrison Chamberlain in his Golf, Dave Spiller back in the Audi TT, of course, and happy birthday to Pete Spiller. It's his dad's birthday today, so happy birthday, Pete. Tony Dolly, of course, out in that Seat Leon. He's fallen out of love with that car rapidly.
Yeah, bless him.
That's
I think he's still hampering after the 206. He really wants.
He's just got to find the blooming engine for it again, hasn't he? That's sort of gone missing. Yeah. Less said, the better. Jack Bolton out in his Golf GTI. Badger Bill Brockbank out in the Seat Ibiza Cupra. Adam Preble, of course, out in the Astra. Gary Preble's back out. Good to see in the Leon. Did you see that, by the way, where Gary took out Adam Preble?
Oh, yes. I wasn't watching it. I was on, funny enough, I had your commentary and I was listening on my phone, and I remember thinking, what just happened? And then Gary thought it was quite funny.
As did Adam, to be fair. Yeah,
they were like laughing and joking. I thought, oh, brothers, I can't imagine that would go that way. But no, they found it quite funny.
I think that's why I had my heart problem on that weekend, to be honest. It was them two that caused it. It's all their fault. But yeah, so Gary's back out, and Peter Elliston in the Golf. In Class B, Corey Webber in the Clio. Mark Wyatt, championship leader. I think no, he's not. It's Mike Good's leading the way. Yeah. But Mike Wyatt is sat there in second place at the moment. But great to see that yellow Astra that was up for sale, but thankfully isn't. Oh,
I'm glad I spent more money on my car. I'd love to have that sit in the garage. That reminds me of being forever along.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Graham Cox in the Clio. James Keeping. Oh, so that was all Class B. Class C, James Keeping in his MGZR, trying to win that championship back again. Ben Hindle in the Corsa, good to see. Nathan Sutton out in his dad's MGZR, obviously a championship winning car, that one was as well.
Yeah.
James Blake, good to see him back out in the ZR. And Lee Waterman, another MGZR. I don't know if you've seen this. Those ZRs, we keep waiting for like the ultimate race of all of them together, but there's always at least one of them will have a problem. So we've kind of not had the full riot of them all together yet.
They went through a phase where they were everything at Combe, weren't they? And then they sort of fizzled out, and people got other stuff. And now they all seem to be coming back out of the woodwork. Like they found them in the garage again, and they were coming back out. It's good. And they're getting some really good speed out of them now. I mean, obviously James is going to town with it. It's Blake, that is, and obviously keep him. He's been developing this for years, and they're really sort of making a move now, which is really, really good.
Yeah, and I mean, James Blake and Lee Waterman, they've gone incredibly well this year.
Yeah.
Been super impressive. So I'm looking for them all together. Nathan Sutton getting used to his dad's car as well.
Yeah, he's flying.
Yeah,
it'd
just be good to see all those ZRs racing together. It would be wicked to watch. Then we got Mike Good in the championship lead in Vauxhall Corsa. See, that's what we got to get you back out, because you and him with the boy band. That's what I called you two, wasn't it?
yeah. Although I never used to wear his fancy boots or whatever, but yeah.
You were the understated member of the band, weren't you?
I was the hidden one, yeah.
You were the drummer. Just stealth like in the back, I know. Yeah.
It's funny, I was looking through the in-cars the other day, and every time I go past my in-car with him, everyone, I'm so serious, concentrate. Everyone, we're like, woo, we're waving or what. It's so funny.
It's so good because he's had such a mixed bag of luck. Hang on 2 seconds, I'm putting another order in for a gin.
I'm lucky I've got my fridge underneath me, so I can.
Oh, really? I need to get that sorted because it's alcohol free these days, Your Honour.
I found some lovely gin actually. I'll send you a link to it. You might like it.
Mate, to be honest, my nose will find gin anywhere, so it's all good. So where were we? Yeah, so Mike Good, Roger Good, his dad's obviously out as well in the Fiesta. Tim Swift in the Peugeot 106. Wayne Rushworth in a Class D MGZR. That's interesting. Robert Watson in the BMW M3 in Class E. Stuart Cheeseman in the E36 in Class E. How are they out in that then? And then Justin Holloway. You up?
Aren't they doing that non-championship? He's like a...
okay.
It's for the older cars that want to come out of, or not come out of hot hatch, but do a bit of both, but not run for the championship.
Makes sense. Okay.
I think it's to help get the grids up.
Justin Holloway's Renault Clio, that's that lovely sort of golf livery, I call it, one from memory, and he's not in a class at the moment, but he's looking to be out. So in terms of championship standings, so of course they score their points in the class, so I've got to do quick maths, is that, Mike Good on 64. Actually, he's leading quite nicely at the moment. He's won all of his races and fastest laps in every single one.
Yeah, didn't Mark have a DNF, didn't he? Last round.
Yes, he did. The last round was a DNF for Mark. So he's on 55 points. So he's 9 points back. And he had won all of his and fastest laps every time as well. Yeah. Adam Preble on 53. And he's won, I was about to say every race that his brother didn't win, but Harrison Chamberlain, he got that cracking win. And he was really impressive on the 11th of June was Harrison Chamberlain. Is he out in this? Yes, he is. Good. So the Golf GTI's out. Harrison was so impressive that round, without question. And I think he's another driver I'm trying to get onto the Combe TV at some point, and we'll catch up with him. So those guys in particular are very close, but there's so many more in it. There's so many subplots, and that's the beauty of the Saloon Car Championship. And I mean, that's the one that you would be going back into, I'm assuming, Kieran.
Yeah, so people are asking why don't I go do hot hatch, because obviously, hopefully it'll be a reason we'll end up at the front of the hot hatch. But I don't know, I've always done saloons. I've always been interested in the saloons. Like you say, saloons have got a bit of a family. The Combe family is also in the saloons, and I don't know. And I might do the odd hot hatch, just to see how we get on. But to be honest, I quite like the guys that we race with in saloons. You know, as much as they're all very hard and competitive racers, they're all still good. You know where you are with them. You know, and I've always had that all the way through. You know, some days some people are having a good day, some people are having a bad day, and sometimes you know they won't give you a hard time. They'll, if you're coming up quicker and you let them through, they'll let you through at the same time as you do the same to them if you're having a bad day and they have a good day. You know, so it seems to be the racing seems to be good enough for me to enjoy it enough, you know.
Remind me what class your car would be in?
In B.
B, class B. Okay,
Yeah,
so with Mark Wyatt then.
Mark Wyatts and the Cleos and such like.
Okay, that'd be cool.
So yeah, it should be.
How do you? So imagine you were racing Monday. How does it feel coming into this week's build-up, ready for it? What do you as a driver feel?
You prep for about 2 weeks and then you do a 20-minute race. It's it's pretty nuts. Yeah. So obviously just getting everything ready. Obviously doing it around work as well. So you just be getting everything, get all your rims sorted, cleaned, all your tire choices sorted, make sure they're all on that, make sure the car's prepped. You don't have a chance to get nervous at the minute. It's more than likely when you get to the circuit and start going up to quali and then waiting for the, oh, look at that.
The current Mrs. Dawes, thank you.
The current.
Don't, that gets me in trouble every time. You'd think I'd learn by now, wouldn't you? Thank you.
Yeah, so no, it's just to build up and get ready. So you haven't really got time to sort of worry about it at the minute. Well, I didn't, because I was still panicking lastminute.com, putting something back together or trying to make something work. I
think that's the racing driver way, isn't it, though? Is we always laugh about the first race meeting of the season, is that they've had all winter and then suddenly the week before, oh, we better do something on the car.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's part of it. It's just it's what gets you out there and feel that you've learned it then.
But I never understand that, because everyone says Autosport Show January is the starting pistol to the season. You guys all get there and go looking for bits for the car or new overall, new helmet or this or that or the other. And it's great. We all catch up with each other. Yeah. It's a fabulous opportunity. And then you go away from that with this alleged starter pistol and do nothing. you just let it go.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, you know. Then life moves on. You go to work and forget all about it. You wait for your stuff to turn up, and then when it all turns up, you think, "Great, I've got to fit all this in like 3 hours." You know. But yeah, no. It's just the way it is. I think.
You're all the same.
I'd like to say, I was going to say, I was like to think it's not just me. Right?
No, it's not. It really isn't. It's everybody. I can assure you. It always makes me chuckle. Evening, Tits. Good to know you're watching, mate. Dorsey and Kieran, what a pair. Hey, I've got to convince him to become my co-host on Combe TV going forward, mate. I think he's. I agree.
I'm not the knowledge.
Do you think I do? I just blag it, mate. I just have a giggle with everyone. It's great fun. Ben Pemberton says, hi, everyone. Can't wait for Monday. It'll be my first ever race, and what a place to do it. Oh, wicked news. Really feel welcome to Castle Combe Racing Club. Big up to the Hot Hatches and Driven Ohm Racing, number 265. I'll come on to Hot Hatch in a second then. Tim Perry says, oh, good to see Dorsey. You got your priorities right. Absolutely, mate. I just had to put in the order, didn't I? I didn't want to shout because everyone would hear me. Jackie, hi, Jackie. You stand a better chance of getting John Ford on there than Tony Dolly. Good luck either way. Absolutely. Tim Perry, well done, Mrs. Dawes. Hope you're keeping him on the straight and narrow. She is. She definitely is. That's not as much gin consumed these days, I can assure you. So, in terms of the saloons, then that covers them in terms of the entry list, the championship standings. I said let's have a look at the Hot Hatches. The entry list for them is looking cracking yet again. Class A, John McMillan, although that's going to change. John earlier said he's not out in the Fiesta. He's out in the, what did he say it was? It's the Megane, isn't it? No, the white Renault Megane. Jason Stack in his Clio, Julian Fisher in his Ford Fiesta, the Hermanator, Matthew Herman out in the Honda Civic FD2R. I always find that funny that was allowed in. The two-door saloon in the hot hatch. It's funny, but it looks so good out there. I'm glad that they allowed it. George Kimber in the Renault Clio. Claire Pensome out in her Honda Civic with the new colour scheme on that, which is great. Dean Clayton in the Golf GTI Mark II. Tim Fuchsbauer in the Clio. Daniel Rowe in the Fiesta, Richard Kemp in the Fiesta, Jonathan Fish in the Clio, Joe Hathaway Clio, and Kai Barker in the Fiesta. So that's all Class A. Great numbers in that.
Brilliant.
Class B, Sean Govard in that Citroen AX. That is a bonkers car, isn't it? It's fantastic to watch out there.
Well, it's got Will's hands all over it, so it's
well,
going to be fast, isn't it?
And I know he'll get upset if we left it at that, is that Sean is one heck of a peddler in that as well. The combination.
I didn't mean to take it away from him.
No, because he gave me grief that I kept saying it was Wash Racing and it was Will de Claudio, and he's like, "Oi, it's me." He's only joking. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He really is. And Jeff Ryle, great out in that Peugeot 106. And that, of course, that was the old Saloon Car Championship winning.
Slade.
Adrian Slade out in won the saloons in that one. So it's great to see that back out. It was amazing. I thought that would come straight back out after winning the championship, but I think it just went into hibernation for a while, didn't it?
I haven't spoke to him for a while, but Adrian, that is. But no, it sort of went away and then all of a sudden appeared for sale. And within, I think, a couple of hours, there was a picture of it leaving its driveway. It was a bit.
But I'm sure it went up for sale almost as soon as he'd won the championship, because I knew that he was planning to go travelling with his good lady, but it never got sold. Now maybe he didn't actually sell it in the end. Then I don't know. Pass.
I don't know.
Well,
we'll see. Adrian, lovely.
Jack Titch says, has Kieran's driving improved since the Southwest Karting Championship many moons ago?
Yeah, all right.
So you two raced against each other in the karting championship, and he went on to become a drifter for a little while, and now a drift commentator. And you went out in the saloons.
Yeah. I remember Titch. Yeah, we did a few bits down there. Remember, I think he worked down there as well, didn't he? I can't remember. If we all worked down there. We've all worked at karting tracks, all of us that love motorsport. It's the only way of getting a bit of free track time, isn't it? It's go and work for them, and then when they're not looking, go round and round and round.
Very true, very true. Very interesting. So, Sean Govard and Jeff Ryle are the only ones in Class B. Ray Ferguson, our very own Ray Ferguson, who I was delighted when I was commentating at Brands Hatch the other week on Festival Italia. He was delighted to get up on the podium, class silverware in his Ferrari. Brilliant job. And he was so humbled by it. But he's out in his MGZR here. And Ben Pemberton, in the BMW Mini Cooper that we were just talking about earlier. But interestingly, that's in the Class C BMW Mini Cooper rather than the Class E one. Might be a mistake in the entry.
Maybe it's supercharged. Does it say S next to the...
Say
Cooper
what?
S, it's a Cooper.
Cooper.
It might not be a supercharged one. It could be just a naturally aspirated one, maybe.
Fine. That would make sense, actually. Yeah, because I know that Stephen Jensen and Erling Jensen were out in one that... No, that was in the saloons they tried to race, and they were in Class A, and it was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's supercharged, because forced induction, isn't it?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Ben Pemberton in Class C. Class D, just the one car, Scott Hughes in the Peugeot 106. And then Class E, which is the Mini Cooper S's, Ollie Kingston, George Walker, Steve Waite, Erling Jensen, although that regularly gets put in there and then gets pulled out, so hopefully we'll see him there. Simon Fisher and Tim Daffern, and Gary Franks, of course, in the other driven Ohm Racing. And Class F, Tony Cooper in his Honda Civic. We heard from him earlier. That'll be good to see you out in it at last.
Yeah, that'll be quick. That's had a Preble hands over it, so that'll be
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it'd just be great. He's just not had the luck to get that out on track, really, has he? After making the switch from his little Peugeot.
No, I haven't followed it much, but I'd seen when it was being built. It seemed to be in the background of some of Gary's pictures. So
okay,
I might be wrong. I haven't, like I say, I haven't followed it lately, but he's only down the road from us, down Highbridge. So.
Yeah, down Burnham way, isn't he? Yeah. And another one in Class F is Sam Stride in another stupidly quick, the Silver Lake backed Honda Civic as well. So they're going to be quick cars. There's going to be some interesting mixes at the front of this grid, I reckon.
If it's dry, it's going to be fast again, isn't it?
It is, and it is a double header for them this time. Remember, these guys are the ones doing the grid walk at lunchtime. So as long as the weather's okay and there hasn't been delays in the morning, anybody who's there watching, get yourself ready to go.
At
And
the minute, it's saying it's going to be dry, so
oh, that's all right then.
what's 19 degrees should be right. Not too
Well,
hot.
Sean Goverd will be looking to continue his winning ways. He won last round. Joe Dorrington in the Civic was in second, but 9.5 seconds back. Then Jeff Ryle in the Peugeot 106. So we had 18 finishes in that last one. So good luck, everybody in the hot hatches. We look forward to that one without question. GTs. This is a good-looking GT grid, I have to tell you. Class A, Dylan Popovich in his Ginetta G50. Keith Johnston, Ginetta G50. Nigel Mustill in his Volvo S60, fresh off of a win. Where were the Welsh guys at? Was it Donington or Silverstone the other week? This weekend just gone. And he got a victory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that included beating... I've got a mental block now. The Lamborghini that we've seen out a few times. Keith Butcher. Keith Butcher in that black one. Sorry, and Keith is down. He came second. So Nigel Mustill is on it. Mark Sear in the Ultimate Evo. I do hope he's got that sorted now, because that's been threatening to be out, and it's then not quite been ready. And he'll come out in his Silhouette. What's he got? The Tigra or the Peugeot? I can't remember which one he's got now. But the sort of like. The sort of short oval one. Tim Perry says Donington, he reckons that they were out. Thanks, mate. Chris Everall in his Ginetta G55. David Graham in his Ginetta G50 GT3. Class B, we've got Tim Davies back out in his Caterham 7. That's good to see him back. Leo Meakin in his Ginetta G40. Ruben Taylor in the Peugeot 206. So that's one of the Silhouette cars. Alan Hamilton in the Westfield Flirtations Florist Westfield Race Aero, and Josh Smith. I hope he does race, because he was due to be out in his Caterham RLM 260 edition at the last race, and he shouldn't be running a whole load of cars. So if he's not at another circuit, we could well see him out racing on Monday. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Class C, Keith Butcher in that incredible looking Lamborghini Huracan Evo GT3. Doug Watson in the Ferrari 488 Challenge. That is a beautiful car. And last race meet, he was our driver of the day, because he really got to grips with that Ferrari.
Nice.
He was openly saying it was like when he first got it, he was struggling to push it to the limit, and all of a sudden on that race meet, he clicked.
Yeah, I mean, when I was out on the circuit, even though we're only in small cars compared to those, I suppose, one day you'd feel. It just feels really nice. The track temperature's not too hot, it's not too greasy, and all of a sudden the car just comes alive. Yeah. And another day you go out and do the same settings, the same tire pressures, same sort of temperature, and then it just feels rubbish, So maybe it's just gelling with the car, and the car, working with it.
It was brand new to him this year. He had a different Ferrari last year, as you do, and he's got this new. As you and I regularly do. And he was out there, and I remember speaking to him in the assembly area, and he kind of said, I'm not one of the younger drivers able to get out there and push it to the limits. If they were in it, they'd probably get more out of this, but if I can get this out of it, I'll be happy. And then, last race meet, wow, just nailed it. I had tried to get him on tonight's show, but he was over... I can't remember where. He said he was with his lads testing somewhere over in Wales, I think. Okay. So it wasn't going to be back in time. But Doug Watson, brilliant job last time. Excuse me. We got last year's champions, Kevin and Charlie Bird, sharing that Porsche, which is a heck of a piece of kit as well, isn't it? Yeah. Although that looked off the pace last time, but I think that was with tyres and changing weather conditions more than anything, because it was for both of them. Jasmine Norman is out in her Audi TT. That is great to see. That's been a whole project, that one, hasn't it? With the military racing or whatever it was. Something.
Oh, is it? I'm not familiar. I think I might have seen something actually on social media thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ditto for me. That's all I've got so far. So hopefully I'll catch up with Jasmine when we're there, because that's great to see she's going to be out in the Autotech Melksham. That means that's I might even remember. Was that the ex-Tony
Hutchins?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, actually, yeah. Thinking about it, I seen the picture of them, and I think he was handing it over to someone. Yeah, that's probably that then.
He's certainly
Maybe it,
involved with it, isn't he? And it is Autotech
yeah,
Melksham that are involved in it. So if it's not, it's just them working together. But it may well be Audi TT Mark 1, but I can't remember what Mark Tony had now.
he had a Mark 1 as well. Yeah,
That would make sense then. So that would be
Mhm.
cool. Jamie Sturgis, who from memory is the joint class leader with Alan Hamilton. We mentioned Alan. So Alan and Jamie Sturgis. Of course, Jamie has won it in the past, the GT Championship. He's looking to do it again. And that Golf TCR, that
Mm.
looks like a piece of kit to drive, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to have a go in something like that one day. It'd be nice. It'd nice to see what the other side's like. You know, it's all right getting these normal cars and making them something special, but once you have a special car to start with, it's like, you know, ready to go racing.
The way those things grip, they just look amazing, don't they?
Yeah.
Kat Dalocco said it's Jasmine's car. No, what we meant, sorry, is Tony's ex car, the one that he used to race. I don't know whether it's his ex race car or whether this is a new one from
New
scratch. But
one, because obviously he knows how to build them, so he might just build another one.
yeah, being involved on that way, that makes sense. So thanks, Kat. We also got Ray Ferguson is out in his Ferrari 355 Berlinetta that he raced at
Another
Brands
busy
Hatch
day
the other
for
week.
him.
Yeah, as always. I mean, that's a boy that just can't stop racing, isn't he? He's wicked.
Brilliant.
I love it. Kat's confirmed, no, it's not what the car that he used to race. So
Oh, okay. So he's another one they built.
yeah.
I know they're involved in it. I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Tony's involved in some way. And Autotech Melksham was, don't know whether that's his company, but certainly was his backer, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was.
Gavin Dunn, BMW E36, David Markison, BMW E46, and Steve Cohen in the Lotus Elise. So that, you know, we often talk, people sort of go, oh, the numbers are low every now and again on one of the championships, and then suddenly they come back to life, which is why I've always said when we're chatting in the Combe Racing Club board meetings is that we're not able to knee-jerk reaction. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've had it for all of them, haven't we, Kieran, where we've had the Formula Fords might be low, then suddenly they're back to great health. The
Yeah.
saloons go low, but you've got to say, fine, it might not be the halcyon days when it was like reserves, but that's
Yeah.
still a pretty damn grid for in this day and
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. And also, what you got to remember as well is the last few years have been a bit tricky for everyone. Maybe like the smaller people, like myself, you know, that are finding budgets to go out, small budgets to go out racing. And the difference is now with cost of living going up, all of a sudden things like this have got to either wait or slow down a little bit, which is a shame, which does have effect, you know, because let's face it, we are sort of entry level motorsport, club level. This is where effectively it will affect more. Is down here when, you know, when you haven't got a massive amount of sponsors or a big team behind you. But so that's probably the difference I'd imagine at the minute. But then as soon as things start moving around and people get used to it's not as bad as they think, you never know, people start coming back out.
Well, you've got to say, well, I mean, we're seeing that already, in fairness. And I mean, obviously, I have the privilege of commentating all over the country on weekends that Combe isn't on. And, you know, I see the good, the bad, and the ugly, some really low grids, but some that are absolutely bumper. I mean, we've got the swinging 60s for Classic Sports Car Club. Their grids are massive. And yet the irony is, I remember earlier this year I was commentating at Thruxton, and they were disappointed. Their numbers were low by their standards, and yet most others would be like screaming for that number of cars there. You know, they just filled the paddock up. It's brilliant. So my point being is that we're not able to knee-jerk reaction. If we suddenly see numbers a little bit low, you've got to let it breathe for a while and see where it is. And that's a great. Thanks for that, Lynn. Tony is Autotech. I had a feeling he was, but I didn't want to commit to that. So that makes sense. Just double check it. Oh, Tom Hunter Jr. Hi, Tom. Saying hello from California. The bad news is that Emma Brown, understander, is trying to get him back in a Formula Ford again. We'd love to see that, but he has retired from racing, which is a shame. But good to hear from you, Tom. I hope you're well, my friend. So, yes, in terms of the championship standings, is that equal on 30 points, Alan Hamilton and Jamie Sturgis. and they're both out this weekend. And then behind them is Dylan Popovich, who's been going really well in his Ginetta, and he's back out as well. He's on 23, and then on 22 is Charlie and Kevin Bird in their championship-winning Porsche. And there's a lot more to play for this weekend by the looks of that. So that's those ones. Midgets and Sprites and the swinging 60s. I won't go through the whole list, certainly not the swinging 60s, because we've got absolutely loads. But very quickly, Kieran, what are your... So ignore now the preparation of the cars leading into a weekend. What are your emotions? Let's say it's this weekend, it's on the Monday. What are your emotions on Sunday night?
Well, I think fine. I think Joe would say different. Apparently, she used to say, "Oh, you know when it's race weekend." I don't know what that means, but
yeah,
apparently, yeah, it is. It's a little bit nervous. It's just to make sure that you've not forgotten something silly. You know, the car's ready. It's scrutineering will be fine. Back then, when obviously we used to have to go up to scrutineering, obviously it's a bit different now. It's just. I suppose it's. I'm not nervous, but you sort of. You just don't want to make sure that you're traveling up the motorway and forgetting things. So the emotions are more sort of just checking you've got everything. And yeah, I mean, for me, the nerves get a lot differently when I'm traveling up.
really?
Yeah, and to be honest, sometimes it's weird when we were doing quite well and such, like the bit of pressure, sometimes I get a little bit emotional going up. I don't know, it's a bit of a weird feeling going up. I listen to some random music. Normally I've got my little Combe playlist, which I probably shouldn't be telling everyone this, and it's a mixed emotions, and I try and get rid of everything I can by the time I get there, so that I'm ready and concentrating. Normally on the night, on the morning going up, but it's not been uncommon to be traveling up to Combe on a Monday morning with a race car in the back of the recovery truck. We used to take it up on that, with me blaring out some very random stuff.
Give us one example.
Well, I can't now. I can't remember. I got to be honest. You know, but yeah, just like the odd song. I don't know. I just feel I need to just empty out my head and concentrate on what I've got to do. And sometimes that means listening to some emotional stuff. Sometimes, you know, and things.
I'm with you on that. I'm with
you. Get
you.
your emotions out, and then you can concentrate. You turn up, and you're ready to go, and you've got I've got my Kieran face on and my smiley happy. Just sort of let's get going and try not to let it, you know, take over really. So yeah, that's how I do it. But everyone
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that, because sometimes I'll do it if I go into a race meet, is that I shall have certain music on, and even more so I find if I'm when I'm hosting the awards nights.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously during the winter I do a few of those, and I, Claire will confirm it, is that I just go into my zone and I have to listen, and it could be anything. It could be something really pumpy to really get the adrenaline going, or it would be something pure escapism to just actually try to stay calm. And sometimes that might change. Do you get this with the journey? I mean, I remember when I used to have people going with me to circuits when I was commentating, and we'd be all chatty, and there was almost like this invisible line around the venue that I was going to be performing at. And it's like, as soon as I went through that, suddenly it'd be like quiet, and they just knew not to talk to me anymore. Yeah,
game face. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, I can't remember some of the stuff like Evanescence and all that sort of stuff, and then other things would be just something that, I don't know, just the latest song that you quite like gets you going, you know. And but yeah, it's weird.
Bit of Eminem, that'll be good.
yeah. No, it's a weird feeling going racing. It's especially when you, like you say, you spend all week trying to prep, make sure everything's right, making sure you've not forgotten anything, got everything done. You sort of get in that zone, and then when it starts getting towards over the weekend, normally Saturday nights are a couple of beers and try to go to bed early, and then end up staying up late thinking about this, that, and the other, and then you're awake 2 hours before you need to be awake to go and get the car out the shed or out of the workshop to get it up there. You know,
Did you never go and stay the night before then?
Yeah, we did sometimes. Well, we used to. We bought a wobble box, a very cheap wobble box.
That's right, yeah.
And I used to get Joe to tow that up, and then I'd come up with a recovery truck. The problem is Joe didn't like towing it, So we would get off the motorway, which was fine, but then she wouldn't turn right to go along the lane to get through, because obviously we come up from Bristol way. So we'd have to go all the way down to the traffic lights and turn right, which is fine. But all I kept thinking was, all she kept saying was, by the time we'd get there, she'd be like, I had to close my eyes at least 4 times when the car was coming the other way. And you think, at what point do we not have a caravan left, And the stress on her face by the time we got there, it was almost a bit like, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll go up the night before, keep in the car, and then you come up with your dad the next day, and then also with Max as well, because obviously you can't take dogs to the circuit. It was a bit like, so it got to a point where we were doing that. It works better. And it was less fuel and stuff like that. But
true, no, that makes sense. I know I used to, when I was younger, I pit crewed for one of my friend's dad's raced in the special GTs, as it was back there. But I didn't really do a lot. But I remember going up and camping just in a tent with them the night before, and just the whole novelty of it all as well is just doesn't, even the early, to be honest, I don't remember much of the night before. It really is that morning. I remember getting up really early. And the fresh smell of everything, and pushing the car to scrutineering because you couldn't start the engine, and all of that sort of stuff. And it's just you can't recreate that, can you? Anywhere else?
No, yeah. That's at that point you start to get, I'd say, a bit nervous. I get a bit apprehensive then, and you got to signing on. You think, have I got my license? I've not got my license. I've turned up once without my license. I had to pay for the thing, and you think, I know where that is. It's sat on the side, at home. And you think, well, I'm an hour each way away, But that's the point when you get nervous. And the worst thing was going up scrutineering, even though the car hasn't changed since last meeting. You just stand there and think, oh, please don't give me any work to do in the next 10 minutes, because it's always frantic then, isn't it? And then you sort of puts you off for the day, because you're always normally out early, and But once you're all through that, get it back, get the car under the awning, then you can have a nice little wipe down and just sort of think, right, let's get ready for quali.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Graham Conlon, he says he used to crap himself before a track day. And I can get that. I understand that completely. Darren Duffield says, I don't get nervous at all anymore. That's because you run the cars, don't race them anymore, Duffers. That's the reason, mate.
That's an easy way around.
And someone said to you, Dan Marv Hawkins says, face for radio, Kieran.
Oh, God. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
That's another RNI.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speak just briefly then. Speak to us about this. Obviously, you run a garage mechanical workshop, but you now also do something pretty cool for the RNLI.
Yeah, well, it's because of Dan anyway. Really, he's been doing it for, I think it's like 12 or 14 years now as boat crew, and they were after some launch and recovery drivers. So in Weston, we've got a county tractor. He's a D-boy, yeah. I was making bacon rolls last Sunday. I mean, come on. So basically they needed a launch and recovery driver, which is basically the county tractor with the boat on, which was a 3-wheel carriage. I can't remember how big it is. It's massive. It's so long, this thing. And we get it out of our compound, down the promenade, and then a hard right, 90 right, down on the slip, and then we launch it. We've also got a smaller, what they call soft track, which is actually a logger converted for the RLNI, which has got bilge pumps in, is slightly amphibious, just a bit more robust, winches on and such like, that we then use that for normal launches, or we can do a low water launch, which is around Marine Lake. If you ever know Weston, you've got to travel around Marine Lake all the way down. We take some bollards out, and then we drop off the rocks, and then we've got to make our way down quite a tricky sort of way down to the sea via the mud. But you've literally got about the width of the soft track wide that you can play with. As soon as you go a track wider, you effectively go into really soft stuff and could potentially get stuck. So Weston basically, the RLNI use it as a bit of a they use it as one of the worst launch and recoveries with all of them. We've got the challenging bits. So potentially people, I would say, put off by it, but they tend to want to go and be boat crew and such like that. Where I thought, well, with all my instructing, all my bits and pieces I do, all my racing I do, I enjoy driving. I'm surely I could drive this thing. I'll have a go. And we've been doing it just over a year now. It took a while to get signed off. You've got to do quite a lot of training. Obviously, the crew help you, and then you get the guys up from pool to assess you. You've got to go on like a 3-hour assessment, driving the trucks, make sure you're competent in what you're doing, using all the radios and such like. And then you're let loose to then launch them. Great on training, but when it's what's happened now? Hello. Yeah. Great on training, but when we oh, you still there?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great on training, but when you've got the pager going off and you're running and your adrenaline's going, and it gets quite tricky. Now, the only way I can explain it is when you're sat on that line at Combe with cars around you and you're ready to go. Now, any racing driver that's fairly new to it, and maybe still now, there's that horrible feeling where you start to twitch a little. I had that worse training driving these tractors at about 4 miles an hour than I had it worse than sat on that line. Honestly, really? It was raining, pouring with rain, and yet I still got sweat pouring down me. You know, it's freezing cold out there on the side of the sea. You know, and literally it's dripping on me. Well, it's so nervous. But you know, the more times you do it, the better it is.
Probably because you know how important this is as well. And I'm assuming this is another one of your crew, because Jamie Jimbo Martin says naughty Daniel.
yeah, my other right-hand man. He joined the same time as me to do the same job. So me and him sort of bounce off each other, and we learn from each other basically. And he's definitely got my back. I've definitely got his back. And between us, we work together pretty well.
And I think it's fair to say everybody will watch them. So thank you, all of the crew that are watching or will watch, or any that even aren't. Thank you for all your amazing work that you do with the RNLI. It's one of those ones that still baffles me. That, along with Air Ambulance, that it's like no funding. It just you know, it's quite incredible. Oh Christ, you are ugly, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry. You hear the meter, so I can turn it on now.
There you go. Your right-hand man sent a heart there for you, mate.
Yeah.
The boys together. Evening, Craig Cook. I see you've come in as well. In terms of the Midget and Sprite Challenge, excuse me, we've got good numbers again. Pippa Cow, Gary Bickerton, Martin Morris, Amelia Storer, Paul Campfield, Hugh Simpson, Jake Wotton, Peter Collinson, Nicholas Rose, Tom Walker, Andrew Coldwell, Richard Bridge, James Hughes, Mike Henney, Dean Stanton, Bruce Burrows, Kim Deere, William Humphreys, Barney Collinson, Stephen Watkins, Jason Meredith, Ian Wright, Mark Turner, and John Hughes. And it's a whole mix of MG Midgets, Austin Healey Sprites, Austin Healey Sebring Sprite, Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite, and Ashley GT as well. Just a beautiful mix of cars that does tend to provide some fantastic racing. And in terms of the entry list for the Swinging 60s, I mean, look, 2 pages of them.
Wow.
All out, let's put it that way, there we go. All out in the same race. Absolutely incredible.
I can remember when the saloons were like that.
Well, you're right. Actually, if they were saying 50 cars, I think they were around that, 45, I think.
I think I had once that there was 2 people. I can't remember whether I was spannering for Tony or whether I was actually out one of my first times out. But there was 2 people that were waiting for people to go wrong on quali to get out for the race.
Agreed, absolutely. Is this another one of your crews, Elliot Haggerty?
Oh, that's my cousin.
Yeah, turn those lights back off, he says. Jeff Cusworth says, night, 2 a.m. start for me. Goodness me, mate. Night, Jeff. Thank you for joining us, mate, and see you on Monday. Thank you for that one. But I mean, just an incredible mix of cars. Just some of we got numerous Turner, Alexander Mark II, Austin Healey's there as well. BMC Mini Cooper, a Mini Gem, Mini Marcus. So obviously these are the classic style minis. Then we've got Ford Lotus Cortina, BMW 1600 Ti. Actually, we got 3 of those.
Wow, I didn't see any of them anymore.
No, exactly. BMW Alpina A4, Alfa Romeo GT 2000, MGBs, Datsun 240Z, Triumph TR6. Oh, actually, a couple of those Datsun 240Zs. Triumph TR6, Lotus Elan Plus 2, Chevrolet Chevelle, Plymouth Belvedere GTX, I mean, it's just fabulous cars. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in reserve as well.
Wow.
Chevrolet Cheetah, Triumph TR. Oh, a Triumph TL4 SLR. They're beautiful cars as well. So great numbers. Yeah, and Craig Cooks has applauded and said incredible numbers. And Tim Perry says, Joe Polly out there, Chris, in her Mini Marcus, I assume you mean, Joe Polly. Don't think so. Oh, John Moon's out, though. John Moon is out in his Austin Healey Lenham GT, our very own John Moon. We've got Sam Polly, you mean, in the Mini Marcus, because Joe Polly is races the classic minis. That's Jeff Smith's other half, who Tony Allen used to know the Pollys very well as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he often spoke about Jo and said that she's very, very good in the minis. Followed her for a lot of the stuff. Yeah, he always spoke very highly.
I love the fact that Craig Cook says he used to work on the Alpha GTS as well. So that is the entry list. As I say, everything starts at 8:30 and 11 races in total. Other than the 40 minutes for the swinging 60. Excuse me. That snuck up on me. Other than the 40 minutes for the swinging 60s, they're all 15 or 20 minute sprint races or laps, obviously, for some of them. But a cracking day. I hope many of you are going to be there to watch it. Drop us a line if you're there as well, and we'll do it. Are you planning to come to that one, Kieran? Or you were busy Monday?
I haven't spoke about that yet.
Got to ask the boss.
Yeah, we have got to go and get the caravan out. We're going away in a couple of weeks for our annual holiday down south. So, I say down south. We're going to Portlock for a week. So, I know we've got to do some work on that before we can go. So I don't know. I will try and get up there because it's obviously double headers. They're always really entertaining to watch. But I have got quite a lot going on at work at the minute. So to be able to go away, you've got to make sure all the work's done. So if I can, I will.
Colin Woodcock says Kieran's going to get a bit of stick this Sunday after watching this.
It's coming down. Colin's and other families. They're coming down to my mum's on Sunday, so we're having a bit of a Sunday afternoon.
Don't knock him. The boy's a legend. And Craig Cook's hoping to be on them Monday as well. Kieran, thank you so much for joining me, mate. I told you that it would be all right, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And thank you. I gave you the option that you could have darted after we spoke about Taruni. I'm glad that you stayed on, and it was good to get a driver's view on it as well. And we look forward to seeing you back out again, mate.
Thank you for everything, mate. And like I say, Tony would like this. I think he, like he said, he did really like you, so he'd appreciate this one.
No, appreciate it. Thank you very much, mate. You. I'm going to put you down into the green room. Stay there because we can speak after we go off in a second. So unless you've got time to run to the loo if you need to, but I should be back. I'll speak to you after I bring this off air. But thank you, Kieran Simmons.
Thank you all. Cheers.
So thank you to Kieran. Thank you to you all for watching. Great comments coming in. Thank you very much for that. Jamie, Jimbo, Martin, well in, mate. Great broadcast. I agree. Did brilliant, didn't he? Craig Cook says, well done, Kieran. Mike Cotton, bless you. Thank you, mate. Another great show. Good night. Good night, Mike Cotton. And Tim Perry says, thank you, Kieran. Been brilliant having you on the show. Don't be a stranger. I agree. George, great to see you watch all the way through as well, mate. Bye, Chris. See you on Monday. I will. And I know you're looking forward to the GTs in particular. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for your company this evening. The show's a bit empty if you weren't there, so it is hugely appreciated. Let's get ready for a cracking Bank Holiday Monday.